1Password has hit 90% AI adoption across its entire workforce. Not by mandating tools or issuing top-down directives, but by rethinking how people learn and adapt at work. So what is it that they do differently? Keep listening to find out. Support for this podcast comes from Smart Recruiters. Are you looking to supercharge your hiring? Meet Winston, Smart Recruiters' AI-powered companion. I've had a demo of Winston. The capabilities are extremely powerful, and it's been crafted to elevate hiring to a whole new level. This AI sidekick goes beyond the usual assistant, handling all the time-consuming admin work so you can focus on connecting with top talent and making better hiring decisions. From screening candidates to scheduling interviews, Winston manages it all with AI precision, keeping the hiring process fast, smart, and effective. Head over to smartrecruiters.com and see how Winston can deliver superhuman results.
There's been more of scientific discovery, more of technical advancement and material progress in your lifetime and mine than in all the ages of history.
Hi there, welcome to episode 783 of Recruiting Future with me, Matt Alder. Every organisation knows it needs to adopt AI. Far fewer have worked out how to bring their whole workforce along on the journey. Telling employees to use new tools rarely works, and many companies are stuck with pockets of enthusiastic early adopters alongside large groups who feel the pace of change is simply too much. Getting from scattered experimentation to genuine organisation-wide adoption requires a very different approach, one where upskilling, learning culture and the right mindset matter as much as the technology itself. So, what does it actually take to build a workforce that's ready for AI? My guest this week, in an interview recorded at the recent Transform conference, is Katja Lavaliere, Chief People Officer at 1Password. In our conversation, she shares how her team built an AI adoption strategy co-led by HR and the technology team, why soft skills now matter more than technical training, and how to cut through all the noise when every single vendor is trying to sell you an AI solution. Hi Katja, and welcome to the podcast.
It's great to be here, Matt.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Please could you introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do?
Absolutely. Katja Lavaliere. I'm the Chief People Officer with 1Password. We are an identity security company, approximately 1,500 employees in 6 countries. We are both consumer and a business application. And we're basically protecting humans in terms of their own security, but also now, with the shift in AI, a lot of humans are using agents. So we're also... Our entire platform is based on protecting both humans and agents from bad attacks.
Fantastic. And how does that sort of translate to the talent strategies that you have? So how are you sort of integrating AI into what you do in the talent space?
Well, it's twofold. So in terms of the whole foray into AI, I mean, our product is, from an agent perspective, we have to be there because we're actually in the business of ensuring that whatever we're doing from an enterprise perspective, that every tool, every application that you bring to work needs to be vetted. Your credentials need to be vetted. It's the same thing with agents as well. And so when you translate that product and that business that we're working on, you translate that into the internal strategy from an employee perspective. We need to ensure that our employees understand what we're doing, that they're comfortable with AI and how we are going to actually build it out. And so everything is actually quite interlinked.
And how does that work practically? So what is it that you're using AI for, and how do you make sure everyone's on board with it? Because it's such a fast-moving area, and I know that every organization will have people who are, experimenting, doing their own thing, but also have people who feel that it's just moving too fast for them, but they might be afraid to say that in the kind of work environment.
Well, we're iterating pretty well daily because everything is moving very quickly, as you say. So we've been on the journey for, close to 2 years. The first part of the journey was really trying to just understand how this is going to impact us internally and also with the products that we're developing. And we've had some lessons along the way in terms of how we thought, basically it doesn't just work to tell employees to adopt it. You have to actually make the case, show it, actually demonstrate that this has value. And so there have been some pivots and twists and turns in our journey. We started with a small adoption rate internally. I'm happy to say we're at 90% adoption.
Wow.
We have basically built out an entire strategy that is co-led by the HR and I call the technology or the security functions. And we're basically a lot of it has been stepping back and working and leading with curiosity, listening to people's fears, understanding how to experiment in a safe space, and allowing people to use the tools that they feel at ease with. And we're safe to say that we've made great strides. And also, at the same time, when you bring that along, you're pivoting at the same time and working in parallel because we have to understand how AI is going to affect our product. So people in every single function, not just R&D and security, everyone needs to understand it right down to the human resources function.
Absolutely. And you're using AI champions, aren't you, to drive that adoption?
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
We have about 60 champions in the organization. Some skills that we have actually brought into the organization from a technical standpoint. But we have a lot of people who are curious, they want to develop. So each and every one of us in every function has several champions. We bring them together. We have a full L&D strategy in terms of building out our own course content, showing and showcasing what we're doing, hackathons, and actually starting to really, I do see a shift that we are seeing in the HR tech space, and you'll see it in the finance space and the other functions, that actually internally people are becoming more and more comfortable that they're actually experimenting and building some of the things that you actually might have purchased in the latter part. And so the champions are really people that have shown a level of early adopter, and they're helping us become at ease with everything.
And is that kind of how you selected them? Was it on the basis of that you knew that they were doing, really kind of into experimenting and doing their own thing? How did that work?
A bit of both. I would say it's quite organic. We have people who are within the functions technically that we were saying, oh, this is certainly part of your role. And then other people who simply raised their hand and said, hey, I've been thinking about this at home and looking at this and experimenting with this. I'm like, well, would you like to experiment with it in a workplace setting? So it's actually quite a hybrid group, very, very collaborative.
And how are you looking at the whole human AI split in terms of what you do? What is it that you think has to stay human? What is it that AI is doing? Is that shifting? How do you sort of view that as a chief people officer?
Well, these are why events like this are great. So HR Transform is an event where we actually go out, myself and my team, and we take a look at what's happening in the market. We talk to the community and so on and so forth. And I feel that there's a lot of opportunity in the tech and AI space to take away work that might become regular or redundant and just it's less interesting work, let's say, and actually allow, we really want to have a high touch service in HR for our employees. We do really, really believe in that. And so actually we see it as a positive in the sense of we can actually help enable many people within our functions, and not just HR, many of the functions, to actually develop themselves and develop different skills. And so we are taking a very positive view of it. And we are not taking a view of, this is going to be something where we have to reduce our workforce and so forth.
Yeah.
Let's experiment, let's look what we're doing, let's develop people, and it's going to evolve over time. So it's not something where you just draw a line in the sand and say, this is what is going to happen. You have to evolve and shift and pivot.
We'll be back to the interview in just a second. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about HR Tech Europe, which is taking place on the 22nd and 23rd of April at the RAI in Amsterdam. It's an event designed with HR leaders, for HR leaders, bringing together our community to explore how technology is shaping the future of work. You'll hear from senior leaders at organisations like Cisco, Marriott, H&M and Pandora sharing what's working in practice. There are also smaller peer-based sessions like the HR Tech Intensives focused on working through challenges together. You can explore the agenda and sign up to attend at hrtechnologyeurope.com. That's hrtechnologyeurope.com. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. So we've talked about this from an adoption perspective, looking at it through an upskilling lens. I mean, how much upskilling has to happen within the organization? And bearing in mind you are a tech company. Is it something that's just really, really huge for organizations in terms of making sure that they have the right skills? Can the people who are in the business learn those skills, or is it a question of finding those skills from outside the business?
I think it depends on your business, the industry, what you are actually selling as a product and so forth. But for 1Password, we are very, very technical in the identity security space. So we have to be very familiar with it. So from a skilling perspective, I believe that everyone has to come along and develop different, actually more soft skills. And so there is the technical piece that you can buy and you can train, but we want to ensure that people have a level of curiosity, a level of adaptability, and actually what we're seeing, which is a bit of a flag sometimes, is actually at the early part in the universities and the educational settings, are those settings and those institutions, are they actually adapting quickly for when we need to bring talent in at the onset? And there are a lot of companies who are talking about, maybe we don't need those entry level, but I believe we do. You can all work within the same system. You just have to be continually looking to ensure that you're learning. It's like real learning culture.
I think that's really interesting, particularly what you're saying about curiosity and adaptability, and really how the education system needs to adapt to realize how important they are. Some people would say that they're just sort of inbuilt traits that people have, but they're actually trainable competencies, aren't they?
Oh, they are, absolutely. And a lot of it is on the job. So our executive team, 2 weeks ago, we were all trained on how to build agents. I have my agents that come in every morning and help me plan my day and give me flags and so on and so forth. And I think you actually have to show it from both the senior level as well, that you're open to this and you're open to experimenting and you're open to adjusting.
And what's the most surprising thing that you've found AI can do in the business so far?
It's the amount of information that it can ingest in such a short period of time, but I say however, and however in capital letters. You need to have the analytical ability, the curiosity, the questioning. Those are the soft skills that you need to take what the conclusions are, because it does hallucinate, and you have to be sure that what you are producing is really a reflection of you as well. And so you can't just press a button and say, well, here it is. And so there is that whole piece that we really have to push forward with.
So just talking a little bit about the event here. We're in the expo hall at the moment, and we are surrounded by every flavor of vendor selling AI in every sort of part of HR that you could imagine. As a CPO, how do you cut through all this noise and really, understand what your business needs? Because it just must be overwhelming in terms of what's out there and what's going on.
Yes, it can be overwhelming. There is a lot of offers, and we have to take a look at our entire tech stack. And it's not just adding tools upon tools. And actually, what I actually see shifting in the last, I'd say probably quarter or so, is that there's a lot of testing and iterating some very interesting tools, and I think that there are the ones that are really, really foundational for the businesses that we need, the HCMs, the talent attract, or the ATS systems, and so on and so forth. But there's also things that we can do ourselves. And so as you actually push to do things yourself within your tech stack with your partners, you're actually upskilling the organization and you're learning. And so I believe when we are talking to partners, we have to be very, very, we have to have a lot of questions. We have to understand why we wouldn't be able to do this ourselves. What's the value add? And then how does it all sit within the privacy and security space as well? Of course,
which is central to what you do. Absolutely. Yes. And as a final question, where is all this going? What do you think the future's gonna look like?
Well, as we heard on the main stage yesterday, we are absolutely not sure. And so if I had a crystal ball, that would be wonderful. I think that we have to be open that we're testing. we're constantly looking at, what should we be? We should look backwards and then look forwards. I believe it's here to stay. It is another revolution. I believe that you can't just turn your head to it. And I think that it's going to net out, and in the whole change curve, you have a lot of disruption, and over time it will net out and it will fall in place. But for the next little while, it's going to be quite disruptive.
Absolutely. Katja, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you very much, Matt.
My thanks to Katja. You can follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can search all the past episodes at recruitingfuture.com. On that site, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter, Recruiting Future Feast, and get the inside track on everything that's coming up on the show. Thanks very much for listening. I'll be back next time, and I hope you'll join me.
This is my show.